I was in Vermont recently to enjoy the Green Mountains. It was our very first time there, and so I hiked Mount Mansfield. That's the tallest mountain in Vermont, and we saw a couple beautiful waterfalls. We enjoyed some of the breweries, like the Von Trapp Brewery, which is actually owned by the family that's in The Sound of Music, which is an interesting story for another day. But while there, we were like, hey, why don't we look up some roadside attractions? And that's when we came across a little museum in Glover, Vermont, called the Bread and Puppet Museum. Now, the Bread and Puppet Museum is owned by the Bread and Puppet Theater Company. And this museum is actually a museum of puppets that were used by the Bread and Puppet Theater Company in performances. Now, the Bread and Puppet Theater Company was created in the early 1960s and started off in New York City before eventually moving to Vermont in the 70s. It's got a very interesting history to it, and the name Bread and Puppet, well, the word puppet in the name comes from the obvious fact that they use puppets in their theatrical performances. The word bread comes from the fact that the founder actually baked bread and then would pass it out to the audience for the show. All right, this is the entrance of the museum here. As you can see, it says, turn on the lights and turn them off when you leave. And of course, they want you to wear a mask. Now, this museum is very interesting. It's located on a little, two-lane country road, and the sign is serious. You really do have to turn the lights on. That is not a joke. That's because no one is actually working in there. It has a gift shop. No one is working the gift shop. No one is turning the lights on for you. No one's in there to hold your hand. So as we walked in, the lights were actually already on, which was kind of a bummer to me because I really wanted to turn on the lights. What a weird thing to do, right, in a museum. But they were already on. There were people already in there. So we decided we would go up to the second floor first. When you get up to that floor and it opens up to you, the barn does, the second floor of that barn, it is really, wow. I mean, it is literally hundreds, if not thousands of puppets, and it all kind of feels like they're just staring at you like right in the eyes. I mean, they're not, or maybe they are, but it feels like they are. It's a weird sensation at first because they are literally on the ceiling, they're on the walls, some of them are in the middle of the pathway. I mean, these things are everywhere. It is crazy how much stuff is in here. I mean, it's a lot. As you can see, it's like overwhelming. It's all just kind of looking at you. Now, a lot of the props and puppets, they're actually pretty old, 40, 50 years old, because like I said, the company has existed since the 60s. Some of them are upwards 20 feet tall. I mean, these things are really big. And of course, some of them are small, but the big ones are very impressive. You've got like the Founding Fathers, and then there's some really large ones that hang from the ceiling. And as you walk around, it's hard to miss that there's a lot of political themes involved. It's not all just random puppets that were created for random shows. They obviously have used these for specific things. So all throughout these exhibits, they have signs telling you what show they were used in, when, etc., all the details. I really want to reiterate how almost overwhelming it is how many puppets are up on the second floor of this place. Don't get me wrong, it is a really cool site. It's a very interesting museum. It's a lot. So the bottom level is a little bit toned down from that. There's multiple hallways that you can go down that have puppets and props, etc. in them. And yes, the lights have to be turned on, just like upstairs. The lights of the gift shop got to be turned on. All the lights have to be turned on. So these hallways are, a couple 100 feet long, and of course they're loaded with props and puppets and whatnot. Some of those managed to scare Holly just a little bit. This is the guy that Holly's freaked out by right here. It scares her. She says she thought he was going to start running at her. What if the lights just started shutting off? Oh my gosh. One by one. I would run so fast. And I'd be like Oscar when he gets scared. There'd be like a path of pee behind me. A path of pee down the barn. If you're interested in visiting the Bread and Puppet Museum, it is located in Glover, Vermont, as I said, and donations are appreciated, but it is free to get into, so you're not actually gonna have to pay to check out this interesting roadside attraction. They just ask that you turn the lights off on your way out. I'm Lincoln Riddle, the Hidden Gems Travel Guy. If you enjoyed the video, please hit like, and if you're new here, consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any future hidden travel gems.